The MAXXI Museum, or National Museum of the 21st Century Arts, started up as an architectural competition by initiative of the Ministry of Cultural Heritage and the MAXXI Foundation in 1998. The project by Zaha Hadid studio was selected among 273 projects. Located in the Flaminio neighborhood of Rome, Italy, on the site of the former Montello military barracks. After 10 years of construction and quite a lot of political and economical discussions among Italians, the project was opened to the public in November 2009, with a total cost of about 150 million euros and an area of 29,000 square meters. The project consists of two museums, MAXXI Art and MAXXI Architecture. In addition to the two museums, the MAXXI also features an auditorium, a library and media library specialized in art and architecture, a bookshop, cafeteria, bar, restaurant, galleries for temporary exhibitions, performances and educational activities. The completion of MAXXI 10 years after the design competition was a moving event. The transformation of a radical concept into a project, of the project into a building, and finally the transformation of the building into a living institution. For the designers of MAXXI, everything started as a theoretical project, and after its completion, MAXXI remains a theoretical project in the sense of projecting an architectural manifesto demonstrating the capacity of the new architectural style, the parametricism. Presented as a theoretical manifesto in the 11th Biennale di Architettura di Venezia 2008 by Patrick Schumacher, aimed to give an architectural interpretation to what was happening into the socio-economical context of the post-Fordist society. Inscribed in an era of global changes, evident in the differentiation, complexity and continuous variation of the demand of products, eager of an urban architectural repertoire to fulfill this context, parametricism was presented as a research program based on the parametric paradigm. The fundamental principles of this style were formulated at the beginning of 1990s with the slogan of continuous differentiation and have been facilitated by the development of tools of parametric computational design techniques. This is a theory base in which the MAXXI Museum can be inscribed and understood. But what better to speak about parametricism than to hear from their own theoretician.
Today we've come to Zaha Hadid's office to interview Patrick to have him explain his views on parametricism and develop the thesis. So thank you very much indeed, Patrick, for coming along. Can you just explain what parametrics are?
We're looking at new computationally based design tools which have a big impact on the ability of architects and designers to create more complex and variegated forms and spaces. The computational capacity is very important in terms of the parametric modeling that you set up your 3D model usually. You work directly into 3D spatial configurations, that you set up these models in such a way that they remain flexible, allow for adjustments, even without losing their kind of networked complexity. We're talking about curvilinearity in our designs, and we're working with curves not as arcs, meaning stable radius curves, but with curves which are parabolar in nature, continuously changing curvature. And the spline is a kind of line which has mathematical formula inbuilt and always takes the shape with certain mathematical formula between control points you manipulate. And the concept originally stems from boat building and the use of elastic planks, for instance, which you bend across control points, and its form finds an elegant curve. That is the kind of notion here. So it is a line which is inherently variable, but inherently has its own logic how it varies. And Zaha Hadid was the one who introduced, in a sense, that kind of more fluid notion of curvilinearity, while previously we had curves only in the form of arcs. We have the kind of urge and lust and desire for complexity, for continuous differentiation, for these correlations, so we very much push this capacity to the foreground, and that turns this technique into a style because we suddenly place value of particular ways of working, we demand particular effects, and which in the end all drive to the sense of this organic, variegated complexity we find in nature, and we are now able to emulate within this kind of digital design world. In fact, and you can see the kind of also where it comes from, this notion of a law of nature, a law of correlation, a law of formation of a configuration. This is what has been kind of transmuted, translated. In terms of negative principles, the negative heuristics is, or taboos if you like, is that we reject to work with rigid Platonic geometric forms like pure circles, cubes, rectangles, pyramids. But that was what classical architecture was all about, taking these and combining these into well-proportioned symmetrical arrays. Modernism still, and Le Corbusier were talking about these pure forms, and modernism is basically a system of rectilinear, cubic volumes, cylinders sometimes, which are arrayed no longer proportionally constrained, no longer premised on symmetry, but still this ontology of these simple, rigid primitives. Also, and we say we no longer having any of that. So any imposition of such a rigid figure would be a wrong step.
After Schumacher manifesto and the controversial article called Let the Styles War Begin, the discussion among architects and theorists raised up, and many different positions have been taken and underlined. Sam Jacob, founding director at FAT, Fashion, Architecture and Taste, writer and critic, teacher at the University of Westminster, the Architectural Association of London, and the University of Greenwich. Was the Louise Kahn Professor of Architecture at Yale University in 2007.